Hello there.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the stars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And today we are back with Star Wars in a Galaxy episode 190. This is season 23, episode 5. We are at the mid-season. This is it. We are at the mid-season premiere and the episode after. Today we are continuing with our watch of season 3 of Star Wars Rebels. We have technically 3 episodes today. Ghosts of Geonosis, which was split into 2 parts, and Warhead. 2 impactful episodes of Star Wars Rebels. But I will say that to me, these 2 episodes are setting the tone for the end of the season. We have a bunch of sets of episodes that really are some of the most important and impactful, and to me, some of the best episodes of Star Wars Rebels coming in the next 3 episodes. On our quest, I believe we only have 3 more Star Wars in the Galaxy episodes until we're done with season 3 of Rebels.
Wow.
So after this, it's only 3. I mean, it's many more episodes in the episodes, but like in terms of actual like reporting sessions, I think it's only 3.
Crazy.
With the last one being 0 Hour. And we actually get Warhead, actually, I think, is the beginning of the road to 0 Hour, which we'll talk about. But before we get into that, let's listen to our summaries. In the double episode of Ghosts of Geonosis, Commander Sato and Bail Organa send the Ghost crew and Captain Rex to Geonosis to investigate not only the Geonosians' disappearance on the planet, but to find a rebel agent and his crew that have gone missing for quite some time and have not reported back to the growing rebels about their location, who is revealed to be Saw Gerrera, who Rex obviously has a history with. After landing on Geonosis, the team splits up into 2 groups. Hera, Sabine, and Zeb stay with the Ghost, while Ezra, Chopper, Kanan, and Rex go down into underground tunnels on Geonosis to see if they can try and locate Saw Gerrera. While trying to locate Saw Gerrera and his team in the underground Geonosian tunnels, Ezra, Kanan, Rex, and Chopper are eventually attacked by a bunch of still operational battle droids and a droideka. However, the droids are quickly destroyed by an outside force, which turns out to be Saw himself, who greets Rex, having had a history with each other, and reveals that his entire team has been killed and that he is the only survivor. Meanwhile, on the surface, the rebels have located a still operational power source on the planet of Geonosis, and Hera sends Zeb and Sabine to check it out. They quickly discover it is a still operational shield generator, and Sabine and Zeb move to extract the power core that is powering the shield generator, because it could be of great use to Chopper Base. Back underground, Saw reveals that his team was killed by a still alive Geonosian who has survived the apparent wiping out of his people on the planet by the Empire. Meanwhile, the extraction of the shield core on the planet's surface by Sabine and Zeb has gotten incredibly difficult because of the persistent sandstorm that's happening on Geonosis. But going to a cave that connects up to the surface, Kanan is able to calm Hera to warn her that there are still operational battle droids on Geonosis. Hera gives that warning to Sabine and Zeb, who quickly realize that a bunch of seeming rocks that they're surrounded by the shield generator are actually droidekas that are hibernating due to the sandstorm's persistence. They are quickly able to power the shield generator to protect them from said droidekas, but they are still under fire from them, as the deflector shield can't hold forever. Meanwhile, Saw, Kanan, Rex, Ezra, and Chopper eventually find said Geonosian, who Ezra names Klik-Klak. They get a fuck. They get the device that Klik-Klak is using to power the battle droids that are operational and turn off all the battle droids, including the droidekas attacking Sabine and Zeb, so they can safely get the deflector core back to the Ghost. Meanwhile, an Arquitens-class command cruiser, an Imperial Arquitens-class command cruiser, arrives above Geonosis, responding to a proximity alert, and quickly scans the surface of Geonosis, picking up life ratings. They send a few TIE bombers down to the surface of Geonosis that attack the Ghost and get visual evidence of the Ghost's docking on the planet. Cruiser moves to intercept the rebels to try and take them captive. Meanwhile, underground, Klik-Klak leads Saw, Ezra, Chopper, Kanan, and Rex into a makeshift workshop that he has made with various bits of debris, and reveals that he has been trying to protect a Geonosian egg that Kanan posits could be the last Geonosian queen left. However, Saw takes a far more militant stance towards Klik-Klak and his operations than Ezra and Kanan's more compassionate Jedi stance, trying to hold the egg hostage by pointing his blaster at it, thinking that they should destroy Klik-Klak and all of his supplies. Thinking that they should hold Klik-Klak hostage with the queen egg as leverage until he answers all of their questions. Kanan proposes a compromise to bring Klik-Klak for interrogation at Chopper Base, and then return him and the queen egg back to Geonosis. Meanwhile, as the Imperial Arquitens class cruiser moves in on the Ghost, Kanan calms Hera and tells her to pick the rebels in the cave up in a central air shaft so they can leave the planet with Klik-Klak. Sensing that they might try to go underground, the captain of the Arquitens class cruiser orders her crew to follow the Ghost. The underground rebels and Klik-Klak get onto the Ghost in the cave, and the Ghost quickly descends further down into the cave. While Hera and Kanan have an argument in another room of the Ghost, about Saw's reputation within rebel circles for being, quote, a bit extreme, they come back into the main room to find Saw torturing Klik-Klak with an electroshock transmitter. Saw then says he wants to leave with Klik-Klak on the Phantom 2, which is then quickly rejected by the rebels, reminding Saw that they made a deal back in the cave. Saw, after a brief scuffle with Saw, the Imperial light cruiser descends on the Imperial Arquitens class cruiser descends on the Geonosian air shaft and begins to fire at the Ghost. The Ghost descends further down into the cave, with the rebels having to battle Imperial jump troopers that descend down to battle them into the cave. They eventually find Imperial canisters of poison gas that assisted in the genocide of the Geonosians. and they latch 2 of them onto the Ghost, aiming to provide them as proof to the Imperial Senate of the Empire's genocide of the Geonosians. They having done that, the rebels all get back up into the Ghost and try to escape. Rebels get up inside the Ghost, having freed Klik-Klak, with Saw acknowledging both of them as victims of the Empire and its oppression, and let him leave with the egg and escape the Empire's grasp to try and rebuild his species. The rebels make a daring escape, although they lose the Imperial poison canisters while trying to escape the Empire. They do have photographic proof of the canisters, which Senator Organa tells them will not be enough to convince the Imperial Senate of the Empire's genocide. However, they did still get the deflector shield corps to build a deflector shield over their base on Atollon. In Warhead, Imperial Star Destroyers deploy EXD infiltrator droids across the galaxy to search for the rebel base. One of these infiltrator droids happens to land on Atollon and quickly infiltrates the rebel base. Meanwhile, the vast majority of the Ghost crew depart for a training exercise. However, Hera leaves Zeb, Chopper, and AP5 in charge of Chopper Base's security while they are gone. Zeb is incredibly grumpy about this, not only bummed that he is missing the training exercise, but that he has to spend it with 2 of the grumpiest droids he has ever met. However, just after the rest of the Ghost crew leaves for the training exercise, Rebel Command on Atollon reports that a sensor beacon has been damaged in Sector 6. Zeb and Chopper go to check it out, and they find the infiltrator droid in its disguise as a normal protocol droid and bring it back to the base. Meanwhile, on the bridge of a Star Destroyer, an Imperial officer informs Agent Kallus that they have lost contact with an infiltrator droid, but Kallus tries to delay by telling the officer to wait another cycle to hear back from that infiltrator droid before they do anything. As Zeb and Chopper examine this new droid that has happened to find its way onto Chopper Base, Rebel Command tells Zeb to get to the command center because a new message from Fulcrum has come in. Fulcrum, who we now know is Kallus in disguise, informs the rebels about these infiltrator droids, and Zeb realizes that the seemingly docile protocol droid that they've intercepted is actually one of the infiltrator droids. As soon as Zeb reveals the nature of the droid to AP5 and Chopper, it quickly moves into its attack state, ruthlessly attacks AP5, Zeb, and Chopper. Zeb eventually manages to subdue the droid. Having been subdued, the infiltrator droid activates an Imperial anti-capture measure, arming a proton warhead that threatens to destroy the entire rebel base on Atollon, and Zeb, AP5, and Chopper with it. Chopper moves fast and manages to freeze the countdown of the infiltrator droid's warhead, and then Zeb and AP5 start to argue about what to do with the infiltrator droid, knowing that if they just keep it, the Empire will come after them to retrieve the infiltrator droid. Zeb and AP5 eventually agree to send it back to the Empire with its countdown still ticking, so that it will destroy itself before it can reveal any information about the rebel base to the Empire. They activate its return protocol, and Zeb manages to destroy its long range transmitter on its ship. The ship docks with an Imperial Star Destroyer and the countdown quickly reactivates on the Imperial infiltrator droid, destroying the Star Destroyer as Kallus looks on. The next day, the remainder of the Ghost crew returns from the training exercise, and Zeb is forced to start to explain exactly what happened while they were gone and why he called them back from their training exercise so early. Meanwhile, Kallus reports to Grand Admiral Thrawn on his Star Destroyer Chimera. Thrawn asks for a report on said explosion, and Kallus reveals exactly what he suspects the rebels did by capturing the infiltrator droid and reprogramming it to self-destruct once it got back to the Imperial Star Destroyer. They both agree that the rebel plan was ingenious. However, Thrawn is turning their loss into an advantage as he reveals that he sent out reveals that before the infiltrator droids, the rebels could be on one of 1,000. He believed the rebels could be on one of 1,000 in one of 1,000 systems, but he only sent infiltrator droids out to 94 planets, meaning that the rebels unwittingly narrowed his search down significantly. Let's get into this. Why don't we, Jacob? Ghosts of Geonosis. Yeah, so I want to give a little backstory. I wrote a short story for this year's Bombadcast Creepypasta event that was heavily tied to Geonosis. It all took place on Geonosis. It examined Geonosian society. If any of you want to give it read or listen, I'll post the links down into the description. So I was really interested to see, based on the other copious amounts of research I'd done for that short story, how this episode measured up after it. None of the story I wrote had anything directly to do with this episode, mostly because this episode, despite taking place on Geonosis, actually had very little to do with Geonosian society and stuff like that, because they're all dead.
Yeah, there's only one of them in here.
And we don't really even see many relics of their society other than the stuff that one Geonosian had.
We see a little bit of the temple. We don't really get into the scope of what we know.
And the workshop isn't really even focused on as a set piece. It's there for a few minutes in part 2. But yeah, automatically, we're jumping into this. We see Bail Organa. He's back as sort of framing device for this episode. Appears at the very beginning, very end. He's one of the architects of this mission, along with Commander Sato. Immediately, the rebels ask who they're looking for, and it's revealed to be Saw Gerrera. And this is very important. This episode released. Let's check. I wanna be absolutely sure about this. Ghosts of Geonosis released, January 7th, 2017. And I bring that up because this is weeks after Saw's appearance in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Which obviously broadened the knowledge of Saw as a character to before he was just a minor character who had appeared in one arc of Star Wars, The Clone Wars. But now he had appeared in a major live-action motion picture, being portrayed by Forrest Whitaker. And right in here now, in this episode, he is indeed also portrayed by Forrest Whitaker. Yep, that's Forrest Whitaker doing him in Rebels. It's Andrew Kashino in Bad Batch, in Clone Wars and Bad Batch, and then Forrest Whitaker in literally everything else.
It's interesting that even though Bad Batch, they went back to... That's fascinating.
I think that had to do more with time than anything else. Bad Batch,
you're right. Actually,
much closer in proximity.
That makes sense.
Timeline speaking to, and Saw actually really didn't do that much in Bad Batch. But Saw was in episode 1 and then the finale of season 2. That's it for Bad Batch. How a man turns from Andrew Kashino to Forrest Whitaker in what we're told is supposed to be 3 years, because Forrest Whitaker is Saw in Fallen Order. God knows, but there's a whole bunch of other weird timeline-y shit with Saw in this. Andor portrays Saw pretty similarly sounding to Rogue One, which takes place a few years before this, and yet Saw sounds pretty damn normal here.
Rogue One takes place before this?
No. Andor season 1.
There we go. Okay.
Takes place. Andor portrays him pretty similarly to Rogue One, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
and Andor takes place before this, and yet Saw sounds pretty damn normal here, which is a little strange. the other thing is strange, which is strange, is that
maybe whatever he
Andor
has, maybe it got better and then got worse again. I don't know.
Yeah, so you don't know this, but in Andor season 2, one of the revelations is that Saw has been huffing rhydonium.
You can oh.
It's a whole scene. It'll make 10 times more sense when you see it.
Yeah.
And that's used to explain away a lot of his like respiratory problems. Which, when that came out, I was like, hey, people, are we forgetting the other great explanation for his respiratory problems, which exists in this episode? But that's not to say it can't be a combination of the two. And in fact, I think a combination of the huffing rhido, as he calls it, the rhido. You're gonna have to see, like, when we watch the episode, you're gonna like lose your shit over the rhido sequence. It's one of the best sequences in Andor season 2. For those listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But like the combination of huffing rhydonium and the inhalation in a closed environment of Geonosian pesticides for who knows how long, of Imperial pesticides for who knows how long. Yeah, no, that's gonna fuck up your respiratory system pretty damn well.
Oh yeah, rhydonium, just the extremely highly explosive substance.
Oh yeah, that
they used to blow up an entire Republic Venator cruiser.
Yeah. And Genos and Imperial pesticides, the thing that helped wipe out a society of literal billions, if not trillions, of bugs. We know this, by the way. In researching for that short story, I found out that the Stelgassan hive alone, which is just one of the hives on Geonosis. I don't know how many hives there are on Geonosis, but the Stelgassan hive had 10 billion Geonosians.
Billion with a B?
Billion with a B.
Wow.
Yeah. So the
that is some serious
just to process for everybody the extent of the genocide that we see the aftermath of in this episode, which happened, which happened, I forget, like, I think Wikipedia said this, I forget what source it's from, I need to go back and check. The genocide of the Geonosians happened, or we know, around 2 years before the events of this episode.
Okay.
Maybe 3, I forget. It's either 2 or 3. It was pretty recent. So it's not like Klik-Klak's been surviving on his own forever. Once we get to Klik-Klak
couple
later
in
this episode.
Couple of years.
Yeah. The other complication with Saw is that Andor makes it seem like and Jedi Fallen Order helps, and Survivor helped to corroborate this, that the partisans were kind of doing their own thing all throughout the reign of the Empire period. Whereas this episode kind of hints that they were trying to work together with other.
I was very surprised with Bale basically saying, I sent Saw to go do this.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was the kind of relationship that they had at this point, especially.
And from Andor season 2, it makes that sound a little bit weirder. And I guess like a headcanon I'm sort of using right now is the season is maybe even after the Anto Krieger debacle at Spellhouse in season 1 of Andor, maybe Saw did take some of Luthen's advice to heart and try to start working with some of the rebels. It gets even murkier come season 4, where by the time of the Gerrera Mothma debate at the beginning of In the Name of the Rebellion, it's made pretty clear that Saw and the rebels have the partisans and the now Rebel Alliance have been on bad terms for some time. Whereas a year earlier they had been working together, at least in some capacity.
Yeah.
It's strange. I'm hoping, I don't know if this will happen, but there's that trilogy, I don't know if you know about this, there's a trilogy of books called the Reign of the Empire trilogy, which is tasking itself with like sort of an initiative to try and like chart the political and military growth of the Rebel Alliance throughout the reign of the Empire. The first book, The Mask of Fear, released earlier this year. I think it was around May or June. The second book, which God knows I forget what it's called, I think is next year. And the third book, which somehow I remember the title of, which is called From the Ashes, is 27. So maybe it's too naive of a hope of mine. I don't know. They have a lot of things to cover in those books. The first book, I believe, is old, but from 3 separate perspectives, which was Saw's perspective, Mon Mothma's perspective, and Bail Organa's perspective. But maybe those books, specifically those latter 2, because the first one takes place, I believe, in the year after the Empire Rises. But maybe those latter 2 books will help clear up a lot of this like rebel politicking that we got in this part of the era. It's my original thought was that
it's really cool to see.
Yeah, my original thought about the issue was Bail was giving the Ghost Crew a white lie simply because it would have been too complicated and unnecessary to explain the rebels' history with Gerrera and the partisans. But that still wouldn't explain the communication situation. My headcanon right now is that it was a joint mission. Is that maybe Saw was leading the teams, but it also contained some of Bail or Sato or Dodonna or somebody else's soldiers. Maybe Saw just wanted to go along. Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing. But yeah. Saw's worried about what we found. He's worried about what we didn't find.
Yeah.
Which is an ominous line to close out in my opinion, is a pretty good cold open. If you were an avid reader of the Darth Vader 2015 comic, I believe, that comic revealed that the Geonosians were wiped out by the Empire at some point. Yeah. But for those of us who didn't, it casts an even more foreboding tone to the beginning of the episode. I want to see exactly, because I know I haven't read that Vader comic in a while. It's not the Soul one. It's the one before that. It's written by Kieran Gillen. And for some reason, here's what it is. I think there's an ambitious Imperial doctor, ambitious Imperial scientist named Dr. Silo, who attacks Vader with some battle droids, and then Vader and Dr. Aphra go and investigate where the hell did he get these battle droids, and then they go to Geonosis, where they find out that Karina the Great is still alive.
Yeah,
and they kill her, or maybe it is just a Geonosian queen, because I believe they're all called Karina. So maybe it was a different one. And I think I've heard some people, including Alex Damon from Star Wars Explained, speculate that Karina was the queen from the egg that Klik-Klak was guarding in this episode. I don't know that, but yeah, that stuff is also kind of confusing, and it goes into comic continuity and other stuff like that as well. Oh, it was. Okay, there's confirmation. I just looked up Wikipedia. It was the same queen. And yeah, she called herself Karina.
Nice.
And yeah, Vader indeed did. Oh, wait, no, never mind. She did not die. I thought Vader killed her, but she didn't die. Oh, apparently, yeah, okay. All right, anyway. Tangent aside, let's get into the episode. A lot of confusing shit that was going on Geonosis, and it was in the Rebels.
Yeah.
It's revealed that Saw and Rex have kept in contact since the Clone Wars, which I really appreciate, and I think I would love to see some more of that, especially because we've gotten so much detail of what the Partisans have been up to, and now, thanks to the Bad Batch, we got quite a bit of detail about what Rex was up to in the immediate aftermath of the Empire. So that's cool. Before we get down into the caves, or with Hera, Sabine, and Rex, for Sabine and Zeb, pardon me, with their stuff, do you have anything for the beginning of this episode, or do you want to just dive on in?
I thought it was a great beginning of the episode, the cold open, the Ghost Crew Sato meeting. I love the little detail of Sabine smacking Ezra in the head when he's asking about the mission, saying it's secret, completely different, 180 degrees from season 1. Yeah. Back on, what is it, the base with the Fernox.
Oh, the Anaxis, Fort Anaxis.
Yeah, the Fort Anaxis episode. So
yeah,
I love that. The chilling, mysterious vibes of this briefing are off the charts. Saw Gerrera already missing on Geonosis, the energy source, and of course the backdrop of all the Geonosians having disappeared. But let's get down onto Geonosis.
Absolutely.
By all means.
Absolutely. We get I forgot how much of I knew it was mentioned in this episode. I forgot how much of a main engine of this episode was the legacy of Stella Gerrera. We get they do Rex does in case you forgot, or in case you haven't seen the Clone Wars, here's who Steela was and what she meant to Saw, and how, like, it's never actually said in the episode, but it's heavily hinted at by especially Rex, and we see this in the Clone Wars, that Steela's death was the thing that radicalized Saw. That Steela's death was, like, Steela was in many ways like the pins and needles holding Saw, a young Saw, back from becoming who he would eventually become. And
Yeah.
her death was the straw that broke the camel's back, of him just going, yeah, fuck it, we need to achieve victory against tyrants by any means necessary, which very much plays into the themes of this episode, especially around Saw and his different way of doing things than the Ghost Crew, which are put on full display.
I love Rex as well, reminiscing about Steela with that swelling Clone Wars reminiscent music. It's beautiful.
Oh, I didn't catch the music. That's great.
It just it reminded me of the Clone Wars a lot.
Yeah. This episode, this double-length episode, like the last battle, is dedicated in a lot of ways to the legacy of the Clone Wars.
Absolutely,
which I think I would love to see more Star Wars stories really reckoned with. We got a little bit in the Bad Batch. We got a little bit in Jedi Survivor. Rebels, I think, is the one that confronts it for Rex and then now Saw more head on. But the idea of, well, yeah, the fascism has risen. It's horrible, don't get me wrong. But it's all within the destruction and carnage left by this brutal 3-year war. That destroyed billions, if not trillions of lives across the galaxy. The first intergalactic large-scale war in a millennium.
Yeah. Consciously destructive.
Unconsciously destructive, not just, of course, to those who died and were injured, but to those who survived.
Absolutely.
And this episode, But yeah, I forgot how much of this episode, I actually did remember this, but I remember going into the episode, and I still agree with this, even though I would have loved to see, like, actually more of, like, Geonosis and and the remains of what the Geonosians had built, even if they were not alive to see it. This episode mostly just takes place in underground caves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity here, something that I would have liked to see, given that in the Clone Wars, we have such a negative view of the Geonosians. We really never get to see them as anything but the warriors who happen to be at odds with the Jedi and at odds with the clones, and they're the villains of the first and second battle of Geonosis, obviously. But then we get a much more nuanced and sympathetic view of their society and them as a species with Klik-Klak and everything. We see this other side that we knew probably existed. I would have liked to see even more of that with maybe Rex having a moment of exploring the Geonosian caves, seeing more of the architecture, maybe other aspects, remnant elements of their society. I felt like it was really cool that we got Klik-Klak, but I wish that I had seen even more.
And not to aggressively plug my own story, but
go read Eli's story. Go read it.
Yeah, it's something I was really interested in exploring there, because you're right. George, I believe, I forget where, I think this is one of the Attack of the Clones docs, but that it's revealed. But George got the idea for the Geonosians from a termite infestation that was in one of his houses or something like that.
Kidding.
Like, they weren't thought of as a fully fleshed out culture. Like George, and this is not a slight on George, he did so much for the world building of Star Wars in his films and all that kind of stuff. The Geonosians were there to build the battle droids and to have a setting for the end of Attack of the Clones to take place on. But it's only in now expanded canon sources that their culture has really been expanded. I read sections of the Rogue One tie-in novel Catalyst in preparation for the story, because it also revealed a lot of stuff about their culture through, believe it or not, Poggle the Lesser's conversations with you'd never guess who, Orson Krennic.
Wow.
Yeah, they had some conversations because it was all about the construction of the Death Star.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Krennic, as a Republic scientist, was placed in charge of key details of the project, and Poggle was there to whip the Geonosian drones into to shape to construct the Death Star, or what would be the Death Star. And yeah, no, I agree with you that in like not just like my own fan works or other people's works or stuff like that, but like in actual Star Wars canon, like projects about Geonosian society removed from the context of, well, they were the bad guys, would be a really great opportunity. Yeah. Saw comes in a bombastic style, destroying those B1 battle droids and droidicas that Klik-Klak sent out. Which, by the way, like, and kudos to Ezra from mentioning this perspective, because I was worried they were going to gloss over this, because Saw is so fucking mad that Klik-Klak attacked him and his team.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, his species just got genocided,
Yeah.
and by off-worlders, and now more off-worlders come. What do you think he's gonna do? You don't know why you're there.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like it's his home, like, and he's terrified, and Ezra's the only one at first who recognizes that. I absolutely love as well Ezra when he first sees the B1s. We can do this. Droidica rolls in. Okay, we can probably do this. Like, I'm not sure if I like that more, or the B1 marching in, and then the two Jedi pull out their lightsabers, looks at the other one, goes, it's like, wait a minute, I remember this. I'm not falling for this again.
Fantastic.
So good.
But yeah, no, despite I'm looking through my notes, and I was remarking, as we talked about earlier, how Saw didn't kind of really sound like the Forrest Whitaker Saw I knew, about like the wheezing or the paranoid like theories at first. But that second like aspect really does like get expanded more and more as we go into this episode. Like when Kanan starts to figure out what's going on, and he's like, okay, well, let's go back to the ghost. He goes, and Saw goes, back? No, wait, you can't. That bug is the key to finding out what's going on here. Like the constant something bigger is going on here.
Yeah.
The Empire's doing things we can't even fathom. What's funny is that both times that Saw goes on conspiracizing in Rebels, the two times we see him in Rebels, he's right both times.
Yeah.
And ironically, both times are about the same thing, even though he doesn't realize it. Both times that he's conspiracizing in Rebels are about the Death Star.
He's right a lot of the time. He just tends to get a little carried away.
He's right about what the Empire is doing. He's often, in my opinion, wrong about what the Rebels need to be doing in response to it. Now, here's the thing. We're going to talk a whole shit ton more about Saw as we get further into, as we do Andor Season 2, as we get further into Rebels, obviously as we go to Rogue One. And I have a lot of complicated feelings about Saw. I know that there are a lot of people who hate Saw, and a lot of people who think Saw did nothing wrong. And I fully agree with neither of those. I lean more towards hating Saw. I think the vast majority of things that Saw has done are for the right reasons, but using the wrong methods. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into this episode. Saw was doing the stuff with the fighting to free the Wookiees on Kashyyyk in Fallen Order. Like, he was doing that before anybody else was doing it. Like, Bail and Mon were still kind of biding their time. I think Mothma, as we see in Andor, was still hoping that there was some way within the system that she could do this. No, Saw was still building up freedom fighting movements, and there's a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for him doing that. Now, we'll talk about some of the ways he did that, because I forgot how soft-focused these episodes were. In my recollection, these were Geonosis episodes that happened to have Saw Gerrera in them. No. These are Saw Gerrera episodes that happen to be set on Geonosis.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera really plays an integral part in these episodes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And we do start to see, as much as maybe this is maybe not the turning point, because he does end on good terms with Phoenix and the more mainstream rebels that kind of are falling under Bail Organa's general umbrella right now. But we start to see those cracks form. We start to see those fault lines, especially, like you said, with the treatment of Klik-Klak. That's more in the second part of the episode. But even now, with him really being focused on going further and uncovering whatever the conspiracy is, much more so than anything else.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this later in the episode. But with regards to Saw being slowed down and Saw doing the right thing with regards to Klik-Klak, it's only because the rebels were able to hold him back and convince him on it. He doesn't get that opportunity a whole lot. He's surrounded by his partisans, people who, believe and are in everything he believes in and believe everything he says and all that kind of stuff. People who believe in the same version of the cause as he does. So while he may have learned that lesson that one time, it's not something that will stay with him. And I think the episode strikes a good balance of that, which is like, yeah, they managed to stop him from doing this one time, but they didn't actually manage to teach him anything. For that to be done, he had to be willing to learn, and he was not.
Yeah, or he was willing to learn, or he was willing to change his mind in this one instance, which for Saw is a little bit rare. But he didn't apply that to that changed nothing about his overall practice or belief system, I guess we could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the same Saw. He didn't come around to anything.
Yeah, he didn't.
As a result of seeing that he should show Klik-Klak mercy and not, because he really has a lot of contempt for Klik-Klak as a Geonosian. It's really honestly surprising, given that he's part of the rebellion, and part of what the rebellion is mad about, what many people in the rebellion are mad about, is like the intense and violent anti-alien discrimination that the Empire carries out, that we know they do. That doesn't seem to bother Saw. In this instance, he sees him as just a bug.
In keeping with the themes of Rebels, one of the main thematic statements that a lot of people, including ourselves, have identified in Rebels is the line that Yoda delivers to Ezra in The World Between Worlds in Shroud of Darkness. How Jedi choose to win? The question is. And Saw, I think, in my mind, is a cautionary tale, because Saw never turns to the dark side, per se. He's always fighting, at least nominally, for the right things. But he is the primary example of what happens when considerations about methodology go out the window.
Yeah.
He is what happens when you don't care how you win, you just want to win.
Yeah, that's clearly been Saw's role throughout Rebels, and pretty much everything that he's in. It's just sort of like,
and I'll mention
what happens when you're doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll elaborate on that later in the episodes when it comes up in my notes. Before we go on, before we get to Klik-Klak, I'll mention one thing, and I'll have you mention anything else you want to mention before we get to Klik-Klak, which is we have that great suspense sequence with Zeb and Sabine getting the power core.
I love it. Yeah,
past all those droidicas as the sandstorm ends, which is very suspenseful and it's a great sequence to watch. Yeah, I love their dynamic, and I love the dynamic of trying to lug this heavy ass thing through the sands of Geonosis while being attacked by, at first worrying about being attacked by droidicas, and then later being attacked by droidicas. It's intense, it's fun, it's exciting to watch. Do you got any before we discover Klik-Klak?
I mean, I think the battle droid scene is hilarious. I think, as Zeb says, if I recall, I might be paraphrasing here, he says something to the effect of, battle droids, I just see a bunch of rocks. And then the view pans to what could not more obviously be droidicas buried under piles of sand. Yeah. I love that. Also, the sound of the marching droids and the way that that's employed, I thought was so cool when the B1s first come in. I know we've moved past that already, but that far off drumbeat sound, that just iconic clank, 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 clank.
Yeah.
It's so instantly recognizable. And for me, it just transported me back to the Clone Wars right away, like Anton Ego eating the soup in Ratatouille almost. I thought it was such a brilliant employment and sort of a little callback of
I'm
that
so
sound that we've heard countless times while watching the Clone Wars. Anyone who's
I'm so sad you missed
will
the
tell you.
last battle episode with Devore and I, because it was just constantly us thinking, like, there was a moment where as Rex and Ezra and Kanan attacked the battle droid sent out by Kalani, the Clone Wars music played, and it was just like that. I was transported immediately back to TCW. Good shit. Yeah. So we get Klik-Klak, a surviving Geonosian who we actually don't know the name of because Ezra just gives him the name Klik-Klak.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's been surviving. He's been trying to protect that last egg, which we now know hatches into another Karina sometime in the next few years before the Vader comic picks that train up. But yeah, I love the guy. He doesn't understand the rebels are fighting the very people who genocided his own. He'll get it. He'll figure it out. But I want to know what happens to him after this episode. I want to follow him. I want to know why, when Vader and Aphra visit the planet in a few years, why he isn't there with Karina, what he's up to. Yeah. There's a moment where they have to cross that chasm, and Kanan has to use the Force to hold like a pillar on its side as a bridge for Rex and Saw. I always love when Kanan gets to use the Force in this show. Most of the Force used in the show is Ezra, as he's learning and perfecting his craft as a Jedi. But whenever Kanan gets to flex, it's always fun.
Yeah,
it's a great use
okay,
of
wait a
the
minute.
Force.
This is the real pros time is coming out.
Yeah,
I love that scene with Kanan not only holding up the massive slab of rock, but then
are you gonna say Go ahead.
But then the best part is Rex and Saw looking at each other. Saw going, how's he gonna get across? As he just vaults over, lands in front of him, and I was like, all right, let's go.
Then the exchange afterwards. Yeah, but he's no Skywalker. I heard that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I love the early callbacks in this episode are a lot of fun.
He is no Skywalker, but like Skywalker was also one of the best in the Order. Of course, Kanan is not that. He's still damn good though. I wrote a great comedic beat in an otherwise not very comedic episode. Yeah, Ezra.
I think for however dark this episode is, I feel like it has got a lot of levity snuck in there. I think the cold open, you've got the battle droid moments, the droidica moments with the shield generator. I think it's got something in terms of humor.
Yeah, we will talk about. I think Warhead is actually an increased version of that, because half that episode is humor, despite the stakes being incredibly high,
incredibly sinister. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
but yeah, as they try to capture the Klik-Klak, Ezra wrestling with a Geonosian is genuinely funny to me. I just love that.
Yeah.
And then finally, as Klik-Klak is confessing what he built for the Empire, just as Saw is trying to get it out of him, we get it to be continued. I don't know why they fucking do this. Like, just do it two-part. Like, just do a double-length episode. Don't split into two parts like this. I always hate when Rebels does this. I'd rather just the two-part episode. Yeah. That's just me though. Do you have anything else for the first part? Or do you want to just keep on trudging?
Let's keep trudging.
As we get into part 2, I forget who it is. I don't have it in my notes. I think it's Rex maybe who reminds Saw, he's unarmed. Better than anyone. We can't underestimate these things. Which automatically just gets into the Saw I know and remember. Like, I wrote my notes: impulsive, quick to assume he has the correct view on a situation, even when he doesn't. Dogged in his pursuit of Imperial blood.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. We get a great quick camera flash to Saw when Ezra says, "We won't hurt you," to Klik-Klak, because that is very clearly what Saw wants more than anything to do. It is Saw goes out of his way, and we'll talk about this later, to intimidate and coerce Klik-Klak in any way to get at his goals, even when we'll talk about like you're just as bad sort of dichotomy that is broken down into the episode that I actually wrote in my notes before Ezra said it. I often do this. Like, I often pre-remember themes of the episode before they actually say it. I think just because of my repeat watchings of the show.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, I see where they're going with this. And then they say it. I'm like, you see, they went there with it. But Jacob, then we get this really funny dynamic of this episode, which I think is a little overblown, especially with this specific topic in Rebels. They do this in both Saw episodes, but this one is the more heavy-handed one. Klik-Klak several times in the episode very clearly draws what we know is the Death Star, and the Rebels are constantly like, "What could this possibly be?"
I mean, the dramatic irony. They have to play it up here, and then you're like, the Rebels go like, "Oh," at the end of the episode, "Oh, he was trying to draw the canisters, the gas canisters." I'm like, no. Surely there's a hologram of the Death Star around here somewhere. You got to be kidding me, man. It's great. I love it.
In my notes, I first wrote in all caps, "Klik-Klak is trying to tell you fuckers about the damn Death Star." And then when they figure out, oh, it's the egg, that's what he was trying to draw. So close, Ezra Bridger, and yet no. We'll see you next time on the hit show. Say it with me, everyone. What was Klik-Klak drawing? And then I wrote at the end.
Oh my God.
I wrote at the end. Rex guesses that the Klik-Klak's drawing is of the poison canisters. So close, Rex, and yet no. We'll see you next time on the hit show. Everyone say it with me now. What was Klik-Klak drawing? Classy, like, 80s game show style music playing.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, but speaking of Klik-Klak, I really felt like this time around, this is maybe my third or fourth time watching this.
I imagine exactly. This is probably my third.
But I mean, Klik-Klak really is endearing. Like, you really feel for him here. You know, like, I was really like, man.
And he doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't have to say anything. We have no idea what he's saying.
But the language, the animation, like, it's very expressive, and you really.
It is. I believe this is a David Accord. Feel for him. I believe this is a David Accord performance. Let's see. Matt Wood. It's Matt Wood. Yeah. In the behind-the-scenes notes for Klik-Klak, Klik-Klak was created to show that a sympathetic Geonosian was possible. Yeah. And I think they succeeded.
Yeah.
I think they succeeded.
And this is to show, like, what an absolute excuse me, sorry. I'm getting over a bad cold, and I've got a lot of gunk in my respiratory system still. Just there to show what an ass Saw Gerrera is being. This terrified, helpless Geonosia cowering down there below the surface after his entire species, pretty much his entire society, friends, family, everything has been wiped off the face of the earth by the Empire. And Saw is like, "What's wrong with you? What are you hiding? I'm going to get it out of you. I'm going to threaten you with a gun. I'm going to throw you around and tear up your house."
And Rex tries to explain it away by saying that the Geonosians manufactured the gunships that killed Saw's sister.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, Rex, Saw's that much of an asshole to anybody who he considers an enemy. Like, it's not a Klik-Klak thing. It just isn't. It's not a Geonosian thing.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean,
I'm not saying none of that went into it. I'm saying, no, he's just an asshole by this point.
Yeah. But I mean, that was sort of a poignant scene when Ezra sees the hologram of Steel.
Oh, it is. And I was just about to bring that up. So thanks for doing that.
We do see Saw kind of feeling some feelings about his sister. And we are reminded, like, hey, at the end of the day, if we are kind of for complexity and seeing shades of gray, which Saw is not, we have to see that even in Saw himself, even when he's being a big asshole, like, he is dealing with his own pain and trauma. Obviously,
well,
now he may have chosen to deal with that in some maybe less than stellar ways, but it's sort of showing, like, ultimately, like, no one is in Star Wars. No one is really beyond redemption, and it's up to the people who. It's up to the rebels and the people who see themselves as doing the right thing to make that reality happen if they can.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think one of the things that's important to know about that is that Saw, he's a person. He makes mistakes. He's made a whole bunch of them, and we'll talk about the many that he's made. But this is not to say that without Steela's death, he would have been morally pure. Even before Steela's death, in the Onderon arc, he makes some really dumbass decisions. But It's foolish to talk about Saw and everything he's done at this point without mentioning the effect his sister's death had on him.
Yeah.
He says some line here about like war is about loss. Ezra,
he
something
says
like
that. War is lost, or
And
something like that.
yeah, and it's hard not to think that he got that perception that of like, well, we got Onderon back, but we had to lose Steela to do it. So I guess that's just how it has to be. Where, of course, Steela's death is a horrible tragedy, but it doesn't have to be that way if you can avoid it. We'll continue to talk about exactly like what that means as we go on with this character. Yeah. The Empire quickly shows up. They deploy TIE bombers to Geonosis as scout ships, which I was curious. I did some research on my own because I don't remember seeing a lot of TIE bombers in Rebels. Jacob,
They show up here and there. They figure heavily in the season 2, I think Homecoming, I think it's called.
Very impressive. You did get one of them. How many episodes before this episode were TIE bombers in?
Oh man, you're gonna quiz me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I am.
That's the only one I can think of. I'm gonna say maybe 3 before this.
You're correct.
Whoa. What are I can't think of the other 2.
Homecoming, the Antilles Extraction, and Iron Squadron.
The Antilles Extraction, Homecoming, and Iron Squadron. So all in. Actually, no, season 2, and then
1 in season 2, and then 2 in
one
season 3.
1 in season 2, and then 2. Yeah, I mean they're kind of rare. I'm surprised they're used TIE bombers as scav ships. That just seems like an excuse to have some TIE bombers.
And I don't blame. I love the TIE bomber. I love that ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Going back down underground, my next thing is that Ezra refers back to Saw. Ezra refers to Klik-Klak as him, where Saw calls Klik-Klak it, and it is
important distinction. Very important distinction.
And we'll talk about this as the episode goes on. This is an example of me predicting the episode scene before it happens. It's very clear that Saw is perfectly okay with using some of the same dehumanizing language as the Empire if the opposing force is an enemy to him.
Yeah.
Am I saying that Saw is just as bad? No. But that he is operating on such a dogmatic code, especially compared to some of the other rebels like the Ghost Crew, they still treat Klik-Klak with decency because until Klik-Klak proves otherwise, it's the right fucking thing to do.
Yeah. And even if they're not, it's also, I think it's no mistake at all that it's Ezra who is the one to kind of reach out to Klik-Klak, try to communicate with him in whatever way he does. Like clearly he doesn't understand what he's saying, but Ezra does say with complete certainty later in this episode, he wants to go, like Klik-Klak wants to go back underground. Like he is able to open lines of communication in some form.
Yeah. And part of that is, of course, through the Force and his increased perception to the Force. But part of it's just through fucking listening.
Yeah. But I think that's who he is. That's his identity, where he is with people and with animals. First it was most visible with animals. He is the connector. He is the listener. He is the open one.
He is naturally perceptive.
He is the innocent one, the one who is willing to take a chance on someone who others have already dismissed. And sometimes, like with Maul and some of these, or with Hondo, for example, sometimes that gets him into a little bit of trouble. But other times, that's an amazing strength and a reminder to all of us of what our values should be and how we should treat people.
Yeah.
So kudos to Ezra once again.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
Yeah, and on the back of that, I have my notes. I believe it's Rex who says, Ezra's right. They don't deserve extinction. And it's that compassion, that respect for other life forms, even if they don't perfectly match the rebels' own ideologies, that separates them from the partisans. Saw can talk all he wants this episode about the mission taking priority, but it is just on his part a dearth of respect. And ultimately, Saw losing the soul of what the rebels are fighting for, because Saw doesn't picture the day after the Empire falls, but the rebels do. Saw only cares about the Empire falling, but the rebels care about what happens next. And we can talk all we want, and I'm sure we will, as we get there in 2031 or whatever, about the failures of the New Republic, because it is a fucking failure. But the fact of the matter is that the rebels at least cared to try. They at least cared enough to try and put something better. Saw has no vision about what the day after the Empire falls. Neither does Luthen. We'll talk about that even more as we go back to Andor. But neither Saw nor Luthen really imagines a day after the Empire falls. And quite fittingly, neither of them is there to see it. Spoiler, sorry, but Luthen dying in Andor season 2 is not like the most earth-shattering of spoilers. Exactly. But yeah, and here we go. I know some people in the rebellion don't want to admit it, but we are in a war, and war is loss. And I wrote in my notes, you are at war, Saw. And yes, more people in the rebellion should acknowledge it. Looking at you, Nor Jabel, and Tidra Pamlo, and Vaspar. But Klik-Klak isn't at war. He survived a genocide. And I think you'd have more compassion for that, given that it was the Empire who committed it. But, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. You don't have compassion. Saw, we're talking, you talk about Luthen making his mind a sunless space and all that kind of stuff in the monologue that shook the world from Andor season 1. Saw left that behind so fucking long ago. Like, Luthen at least has the self-consciousness to recognize it. Saw, I think, is so far down that he hasn't even realized how far down he's dug.
Yeah.
Into his own ways, into his own practices, into his own dogmatic view of how war must be conducted. And I'm not saying he doesn't have good points. We'll talk about the Gerrera-Mothma debate.
Well, I think a fundamental... Sorry, continue.
I was going to say, we'll talk about the Mothma Gerrera debate in season 4, and I do think he has some good points there. But at the end of the day, whatever good points he makes in philosophy are overridden by the way he conducts his methods. And that's what I will always go down. It will always come down down to, for me, with Saw, is, yeah, sure, philosophy. Got it. Go ahead.
I think you talk a lot about comparing Saw and Luthen. I think a fundamental difference is that Luthen sort of recognizes and bemoans the position that he's put himself in, where he has to make some really kind of hard, awful choices, where he's knowingly letting people die, for example. And a lot of his rhetoric as well about his experience is relating to the double life that he's living and the way that it affects his personal life and his own hopes and dreams and goals for himself, where he's saying, I've given my life for this rebellion. With Saw, on the other hand, he simply has sort of made the calculation, or it's not even a calculation, he's justified to himself. He's won the argument in his own head that because he has determined his cause to be sufficiently noble, anything he does is justifiable.
Yeah.
So I feel like while Luthen is sort of a tortured soul in many ways, Saw is just sort of like, well, it's my way or the highway.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to do the right thing so I can do whatever I want to accomplish that, no matter how ruthless or brutal or sort of thoughtless, not thought through it is.
Yes, and Saw is, and that is another great difference between the two of them. Luthen, later in that same monologue, I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago, to which there is only one conclusion: I'm damned for what I do. Luthen's all about the fucking plan. Saw has no plans. Saw's plan is Saw's plans are whatever the fuck Saw feels like at the moment.
Yeah.
And of course, the Rebels also have plans and all that kind of stuff, and we'll talk about that as we continue to go on in Rebels. Yeah. Before we check back and we get that great action sequence with the Ghost and the Imperial cruiser, the escape from the TIE bombers en route to that cave, I think I don't know what it is. I just love it. Feels so classic Star Wars. To me,
it's great. It's a lot of fun.
It's just very daring and fun. Sabine, as the sand is clogging up from Geonosis, from the sandstorm, has been clogging up the barrels and other parts of the Ghost, remarks, "Stupid sand gets everywhere." And I just wrote in my notes, "Ha ha ha, very funny." It's like, at this point, it's just like, it's almost unfunny whenever any character in Star Wars complains about sand, because it's like, we all know where our minds are gonna go.
Yeah.
Like,
I wrote she said it, she said it, she said it, she said it.
Exactly. It's like, you know where all our minds are going, and say what you want about Attack of the Clones, a film that I think both of us have grown on quite considerably, even since the beginning of In a Galaxy. That like, any complaint about sand at this point will always go back to that line from Anakin.
Yeah.
The Ghost goes down into the caves. The Imperial cruiser follows them. There's this great cat and mouse game with the Rebels and the Empire in this episode that I think is really well done. Instantly, I love how once Klik-Klak and Saw and the Rebels get onto the ship, Hera is already on board with, we got to value Klik-Klak as an individual, and Saw's methods may not be great. Like, she's already, like, she doesn't even need 5 seconds. She's already with the program. Yeah, and she's in the room with Kanan as she's talking. From what I hear, Saw's got a reputation for being a little extreme. I'm like, yeah, a little? And then they go back into the other room, and we see Saw torturing Klik-Klak.
He just starts electrocuting him the minute he steps out the room. Whatever goodwill we had for him after that little hologram scene of Steela, he just electrocuted that away.
Yeah, and I briefly forgot he did that, but it's so fucking unsurprising to me. Let's go. Well, first of all, let's talk about Jedha. Do you remember Jedha when Saw and his partisans in the beginning, when Jin and Cassian are going around the Holy City? Like, Saw's partisans just start launching terrorist attacks on the Empire.
Yeah.
And it's not the terrorist attacks on the Empire that bother me. It's the fact that there's that moment where Jin rescues that little girl Pendra, and like, it is the blatant wanton violence against the Empire, which is justified, but that puts innocent lives in the crosshair, which of course is not. Saw doesn't care. Saw probably doesn't know, and even if he did, he probably wouldn't care. It is all in pursuit of the cause of bringing down the Empire in any way possible. And here's where I want to bring up Inusagi, or Inusagi, I don't know how to pronounce it. The Inusagi Massacre is an event depicted in the book Rebel Rising by Beth Revis. Now, I will admit I have not read this book, but I know of this event through various discussions online, and I've looked it up and stuff like that. This event is the thing that will never that is permanently convinced me on the ethics of Saw Gerrera, and you will never convince me otherwise as long as this event is still canon. There was a party that it was an Imperial party on the planet of Inusagi that happened while Jin was with the partisans in that gap between the prologue of Rogue One and its mid events, before the other partisans started finding out who Jin actually was. And Jin was tasked with making, I believe, fake IDs for the partisans to infiltrate. She wasn't supposed to know what the mission was. And look, so this party was a bunch of Imperial dignitaries were there. Who else was at the party? A bunch of normal fucking people.
Yeah.
So Saw's partisans had these weapons called flechette launchers.
Oh, yeah.
They shredded the entire fucking party.
Yeah,
innocent people at the entire fucking party, along with the Imperial dignitaries. And Saw directly
something they'd be known for doing.
Saw acknowledges afterwards that Jin wasn't supposed to see it because he was like 16 years old. And if you have to shield a 16-year-old from something that gory, you know what you're doing is wrong. And you just don't want to admit it. After Inusagi, after Jedha, it does not surprise me one fucking bit that Saw is torturing Klik-Klak. Sorry for that tangent, but every time we confront Saw, I always feel like I have to mention Inusagi because that, like, you cannot defend Saw after that. You can't. Yeah. And then he said,
Pretty blatant in this episode,
he then lobs one unexpectedly at Kanan for no fucking reason. Your methods are soft, Jedi. We lost the last war because of you. No, Saw, we did this already. They lost the last war because they were never meant to. Just, okay, watch the last battle, okay?
Yeah. It's also just very interesting to me, like, lore-wise, character-wise, why does Saw think that? That's not something I would expect from him. But I guess it makes sense. Like, it is like, probably at the time, he probably really didn't think that. He's been so...
Yeah, I was like,
He's
who
become
knows
such an extremist that he's kind of like... It makes sense. He's like, yeah, the Jedi are soft. They don't want to kill people.
It's also like, who knows what he was...
They're diplomats.
He was also being cornered by the rebels at that point. He was willing to lob at just fucking anything at that point.
Yeah,
like,
he's just mad.
I don't know how much he actually believes that. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. It also wouldn't surprise me if he didn't. Like,
yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah. I just want to say the delivery of, now move it, bug. I don't know what it is. I love the way Forrest Whitaker says it. I don't think we've talked enough about this on this episode, and for good reason, but I do want to bring this up. Despite all the shit we've thrown at Saw in universe, Forrest Whitaker's portrayal of Saw Gerrera is one of my favorite portrayals in the new canon Star Wars ever. Like, he's just so good as this character. I mean, he is a venerated actor going back decades and decades and decades. So it's no wonder that he's good as this character, but, like, truly, like, beyond medium, like, look at any medium he's done it. He's done it in 3. He's done it in 4. Live action film, live action television show, animated television show, and video game. All 4 he nails. In fact, I honestly think the live action film is honestly some of his weaker Saw performances.
Really?
But I think that's also because of script stuff, where Rogue One was kind of being, like, hackneyed together, like, kind of patchwork stuff together and stuff like that. So I think a lot of the stuff that I'm not crazy about Saw and Rogue One is not really Forrest Whitaker's fault. But yeah, what am I gonna say? The line he uses uses directly afterwards. Our enemy shows no mercy. Neither can we. We talked earlier about the argument of, oh no, the Klik-Klak was just afraid of your team because of what happened the last time that outsiders came to his planet, which was genocide. But of course, even if I could explain that to the character, I doubt he'd listen. But I love this character. Like, I love that we have this character who is this walking representation of what going too far in the pursuit of bringing down the Empire means. I really do love it. Then Ezra and Rex use the family argument against Saw, which I think is a silver bullet, but it still doesn't work. And then, of course, then Ezra goes, then you're no better than the Empire. To be clear, I don't think Ezra's saying that literally. I think he's saying to Saw that what he's doing in this situation is also what the Empire would do. Yeah, I've been blabbing a lot about Mr. Gerrera. Do you have anything to say about this part of the episode before the cruiser comes and starts?
I don't know, man. Just like Saw.
Yeah, it's
take it easy. Like, I don't know. We see kind of a difference. We see the side of who he is and why he's known for what he is, I guess, in this, I will say. But then, obviously, the Empire closing in. This is when, now we're in the end game, you could say. Now we're in the end game, and this is where it gets really exciting once they descend down the shaft. Down the bottomless pit.
First of all, we get this great action sequence when the rocket troopers are propelled down, which I love. So well designed. It's so dynamic. It's so energetic. We have that incredibly awesome cross double shot from Sabine, where she lands on that ledge where the 2 rocket troopers are and crosses her pistols and blasts them. Like, get out of here. That's so awesome. Love that. Yeah, we get the poison, which I talked about, the combination between the huffing rhydonium and the Geonosian pesticides as to why Saw's respiratory system is so fucked up by the time of Rogue One. But yeah, I wrote my notes and I'm going to say this here. It's so bleak to see a mechanism of the Geonosian genocide. And I say a mechanism because I don't believe I don't believe they just poisoned them. I think there were other methods of carrying it out.
At the very least, there must have been thousands of these canisters.
Yeah, but it's
around
so
the planet.
bleak to see a mechanism of the Geonosian genocide so directly marked with the symbol of Imperial tyranny.
Yeah,
Like, the
and to see
symbolism is
Klik-Klak
practically,
to it as well.
yeah, the symbolism is practically slapping you in the face. Yeah, and yeah, what am I gonna say? And finally, Saw has some damn sympathy for once. Everyone loses family in war, even the enemy. The Geonosians deserve the same chance to rebuild that we do. I just wrote,
Yeah,
damn, Saw, wish you remembered that on Inusagi. Wish you would remember that on Jeddah, but no.
yeah. The
Yeah,
fact that you still feel like maybe I'm reading into this piece of dialogue too much, and he didn't really mean it about Klik-Klak, but the fact that he still sees the Geonosians as the enemies on some level, nearly 2 decades after the events of the Clone Wars, that where his sister was killed by the droid army.
yeah. And it is
Some
frustrating.
scars don't go away.
I will say, as Saw is so much of a like a don't believe, like sort of like a don't believe the Imperial propaganda leftist, as so to speak. It is frustrating, although who knows how much of Palpatine's grand plan he actually like really knows and realizes at this point. But it is frustrating, to your point, and I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about it. It is frustrating to see him still buying into Clone Wars propaganda. Like,
Yeah.
the Geonosians.
I mean, for him, it wasn't propaganda. Like what I'm seeing is just like he's still living the separatist oppression of his people, and
Yeah,
the fight and the war that he was fighting against the
yeah,
droids. Like for him, it was never about republic versus separatist. It was freedom versus subjugation on his planet in
yeah, but
particular.
but very much like
That's
we don't
part of
know.
what makes it feel so strongly, I would imagine.
Yeah, but again, we don't know exactly what Klik-Klak was doing in Geonosis. Like, we have no idea the direct impact that Klik-Klak had on Saw's life. Probably nothing. I
Yeah,
mean, like, Saw is unable to, for somebody who talks about don't believe the Imperial lies, he's sure believing a lot of the like Republic-ish lies about the sort of like softish racism against Geonosians in that sort of way. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
It's ironic to see that they to try to load the canisters as proof of scent, they lose them in the thing. But I think it would have been interesting, honestly. I think it would have been interesting if they didn't lose them, because I think the same outcome would have happened.
How come?
Do you really think that an Imperial Senate 17 years in?
Oh yeah. Oh, I misunderstood what you meant. Yeah, that's pure. That is like pure innocence, almost. I want to say from
Like,
from the rebels.
yeah, like, do you really think an Imperial Senate 17 years in would actually try to hold the Empire to account for the Geonosian genocide? Do you really think they would?
No, the Imperial Senate is like barely functional at this point.
You'll see this obviously with a lot of the stuff around the lead up to the Gorman massacre in Andor season 2. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They do not give a shit. There is more confusion around Mon Mothma leaving the Senate and declaring a rebellion at the end of, as we see in Secret Cargo, but that is first established in Andor season 2. There is more confusion of that around that in the Senate than in the Imperial regime than there rightfully should be. Like, she literally says in the fucking Rebels episode, "I blame the Emperor for the massacre on Gorman." Like, and everybody's like, what would she possibly have to complain about with the like glorious Empire? And it's like, she literally just said they're so entrenched in the propaganda.
Yeah.
Bale says later, oh, the photos won't convince them. I'm not sure the evidence would convince them. I'm not sure the literal evidence would convince the Empire, would convince the Imperial Senate that the Empire committed genocide on this one planet. So I think it would have been interesting if they got the evidence, but even that wouldn't matter. Yeah. But on the positive side, they did get that shield generator core.
Yeah, they got the
which
core.
will be incredibly valuable for them in the future. Yeah, they lost the canisters. I wrote in my notes, Kanan's line, maybe not, but they can't keep what they were building on Geonosis hidden forever. And I said, no, Kanan, only about 2 more years. You'll know eventually. Oh, no, wait, you won't. Saw will. He'll die laughing when he sees what it is. Oh, no, wait, he'll just die.
Damn, Eli. Why you gotta do Kanan like that? Why you gotta do them all like that? That's ruthless. Ruthless.
But yeah, and then finally we have this great ending line of the episode where Hera tells Ezra, I've also got my issues with Saw, Ezra, but in the end he's proved he's not the Empire. And for now, that will have to do. This perfectly mirrors a lot of the issues in Andor Season 2 that we'll get to about coalition building against fascism. You may not agree with everything other anti-fascist groups believe in, but at the end of the day, they're anti-fascists, so they're your allies. Do you have anything else to talk about before we wrap our discussion on Ghosts of Geonosis and get on to Warhead?
No, man. Shout out to Klik-Klak. I hope he hatches that egg. And I love watching Sabine go absolutely gangbusters on those rocket troopers. That's such a fun moment. Especially when Ezra goes, I want a jetpack. She goes, I know, kid.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. Overall thoughts on this episode, Jacob, before I get to mine?
Another really strong episode. I wish that we'd gone a little deeper into the Geonosis lore, but no, with that being said, highly enjoyable. Very good stuff.
I said this was a very good 2-part episode in the middle of my ranking of the 3 2-parters in season 3, better than Steps into Shadow, but not as good as 0 Hour. Great character building for Saw, giving the Rebels' view of where he's at this point in time, which I think gels not only very well with Kashino's Gerrera from Clone Wars and Bad Batch, but also Whitaker's other Gerrera portrayals in Jedi Fallen Order, Andor, and Rogue One. Though the hair is different here than in Andor, Rebel Season 4, and Rogue One, and the status of where he is with the growing rebellion may be a bit clunky, the character is still intact, and I always love Whitaker's take on this incredibly nuanced character. Putting in contrast with Klik-Klak, both survivors of Imperial atrocities, was an exceptionally smart move by the writers, especially because they were on opposite sides of the last war. We get Rex as a bit of a foil to Saw, despite him having even more of a reason to be diametrically opposed to Klik-Klak than him. But due to his various experiences, especially in the last battle, he has a more balanced view on the Geonosian than Saw does. We get some great fun above-the-surface action with Hera, Zeb, and Sabine. Love all the Clone Wars allusions, and I really appreciate the best insight into the Geonosian genocide on screen. Yeah, very good episode. Let's get on to Warhead. Why don't we?
Let's get onto it. Let's do it. This is such an interesting episode.
This is a really fascinating episode. We start off this episode. This episode really, to me, feels like a giant homage to the beginning of The Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, we get
totally
very similar shots at the beginning that we do at the beginning of The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire launching probes, or in this case, infiltrator droids, into the far reaches of space, I believe, as the crawl says. Yeah. And then we see one of them's made its way to Adelon, which is our cut to title, which, very good.
Yeah.
Very good cut to title.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh shit, the Empire is on Adelon. They've touched down. We've made contact.
Yeah. It's really fucking bad. But yeah. Hobby and Wedge get a brief cameo in this episode, which is actually what a cameo means. But yeah, Zeb is already complaining, don't understand why I can't come along. And I said, Zeb, you just have to be in this episode, remember?
Yeah, this is your episode, bro.
This is your episode. You got to shine, man. The best part to me of this episode is AP5.
He is on...
Did they seriously leave you in charge of this entire facility?
He is on some ruthless shit in this episode.
Truly.
A grunt. Exactly.
I don't want to do this inventory stuff with you and Chopper. Is that because you never learned to count? I can teach you.
Bro. Absolutely ruthless. Absolutely ruthless stuff.
What do you call that? The endless contrast, at least in the beginning of this episode, between the endless suspense with the infiltrator droid infiltrating, contrasted with just the buddy comedy of Zeb, AP5, and Chopper is great. It's just awesome. I love it. Yeah, Chopper early in the episode having to choose between Zeb, who he doesn't want to go with, and AP5, who he really doesn't want to go with, is
It's
hysterical.
hilarious. It's so good. Yeah.
It's legitimately so funny. I also forget that this is a scream at the screen type episode where it's like, no, Zeb, it's a suspicious, unfamiliar droid. Don't take it back to base. Like, what? So it can see your fucking base? Like, no. But of course, Zeb has no idea what it is. Yeah. Jacob, do you have anything about the beginning of this episode before we get to the suspense with the infiltrator droid?
I love the Empire using the old meteor shower trick to get probes onto the surface.
Yep.
The rebel soldier telling Zeb that. Yeah, no, let's get onto it. I mean, once they make contact, that's where things get interesting. Zeb, they're all way too eager to bring in this random droid that on this deserted planet that no one's supposed to know about just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
walks around in the
Aren't they?
wilderness, and they're
Aren't
like,
they?
"Yeah, let's just this makes perfect sense. Nothing could
Yeah.
go wrong." Like that, I think Hera would flip her lid if she saw that happen. She would have an aneurysm. I mean, that it goes against every single rule of like, I don't even know, intelligence, secrecy,
Yeah.
operational security. I mean, everything. I mean,
I
good
wrote
lord.
my notes. Zeb saying, seems harmless enough. I wrote in my notes,
Yeah.
no, Zeb, stop.
Famous last words.
No, don't
Seems harmless
power
enough.
up the damn droid. I also do love that the infiltrator droid is clearly like the docile protocol droid form is clearly based off of Ralph McQuarrie's C-3PO art.
Yeah, just like everything in Star Wars Rebels. It's a beautiful
truly.
homage. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And then only with the fulcrum message as Callus quickly delays for the Empire.
Yeah.
Only Callus's fulcrum message really clues Zeb in, and he comes rushing back, and then the infiltrator droid goes into attack mode, which is just like terrifying. That great exchange from with Zeb and AP5. What's it doing? It's remembering. Like, there's an alien predator-esque sort of like this like foreign, unfamiliar like Imperial droid just threatening to expose the rebel base with minimal staff and military to stop it. Like, I've been hearing a lot from people on the internet and other places about Predator Badlands.
Oh yeah, new Predator movie, right?
Just came out. Yeah, that just came out. And it really, like, I haven't seen either of the Alien or the Predator movies, but like stuff with this, and like I know Alien's been a huge influence on modern Star Wars stuff. I believe Bad Batch and The Acolyte have both credited Alien as influences on their stuff. But yeah, no, but the horror of the infiltrator droid just really I mean, like, it's a real fucking struggle for Zeb and AP5 to subdue the damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I will say, I was just looking at my notes, and I do want to say, like, Zeb and AP5 only being allowed to be stupid about the droid for about 5 minutes is, I think, a perfect balance. It doesn't make them look like complete idiots, but they also shouldn't know the droid's true nature immediately. It preserves the dramatic suspense while not making them look just completely dumb. But yeah, we then get to the line, which is also like that same suspenseful, like almost horror type, that thing's repairing itself, which is just extra creepy. It's fully autonomous and knows what it's doing. Back to the humor stuff I have in my notes. That gives me an idea. Really? You can have those?
Bro. Poor Zeb, man. What did he do to deserve this from AP5? Literally just getting profiled because of his body type and the way he talks. And to be honest, like, his personality too. But like,
I was gonna say, it's not like
he's shown time and time again that he's a lot more than just the grunt.
AP5 wasn't there for Always Two There Are.
He wasn't there for all the moments where Zeb really proved why he was worth his salt and then some.
There's another one I have right here. Think, Zeb, think. This should take a while.
Oh my god. My favorite one is that when they have to carry the droid back up to the ship, or no, they don't, because they have to carry the droid somewhere. The AP5 goes, manual labor. This should be up your alley or something. He just says something like that. I'm just like, God, he's just relentless, bro. Like
He
you can't
He's
turn it
ice
off.
cold this episode. It's great. Yeah. The shot of the infiltrator droid clutching Zeb's powered bow rifle is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Great shot from this episode. Yeah. But yeah. Do you have anything from the confrontation with the infiltrator droid before we get to the plan?
No, not really. I think it's an amazingly scary sort of experience of Zeb, for all his might and muscle and military experience, is sort of ineffective against this droid. He shoots it over and over. Everything he tries, just nothing works. And eventually he manages to kind of drop on top of it and subdue it enough for AP5 to get in there and turn it off. But even that, you're just like, oh, let go, don't let go, don't let go. It's a nail biter. I love it.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It is. But yeah, they get the plan to send it back after the countdown's already started. I forgot that the name Warhead of this episode came from the explosive equipped inside the infiltrator droid as a failsafe, which was interesting. Yeah, we get also a nice moment after it's sent off where AP5 recognizes Zeb's skill after all of this. And I love that reconciliation between two of them. Like, I love that this episode, besides being a close call of the rebels being discovered, also serves as a bit of a character development episode as well.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And then they send it back, explodes the Star Destroyer. Callus's pleased expression upon reacting to the infiltrator droid exploding is great. He respects the rebels for this and is pleased they weren't discovered. I also like to think, this is just a personal headcanon of mine, I like to think that he knew it was a Zeb plan. Like, I like to think he saw the explosion and he thought, this has Aurelius's fingerprints all over this.
Yeah.
To set up Callus Zeb for future seasons. And then we end with the Grand Admiral, a presence that has been suspiciously absent from these two episodes so far, where we get one of his first, in my opinion, true masterstrokes of this season. Maybe second after the stuff he pulled in Hera's Heroes, but the great ending reveal, the rebels may have protected the location of their base for now, but in doing so, they have narrowed my search. Before today, they could have been hiding in any of 1,000 systems, but now I know they are almost certainly on one of the 94 planets surveyed by my infiltrators. Thrawn has successfully shrunk the possible planets that the rebels could be on by over 90%. I am as scared as Callus and the rebels should be. Yet again, he has proven that he can turn what should be a loss into a staggering victory for the Empire. Fucking chilling.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he says, the rebels might have won this battle, but the war will be his. And at this point, it looks like he's right.
It certainly looks like it, yeah.
Moving in that direction for sure. When is winning the battle losing the war? But I mean, at the same time, Zeb, obviously the big mistake was taking the droid in to begin with.
Yeah.
With that being said,
Zeb made the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, of the bad situation, he kept the base hidden for the time being.
Once the droid landed on Atollon, the rebels were kind of screwed. Like, seeing the base wasn't great, don't get me wrong, but like just the landing on the planet of Atollon was bad. Zeb did the best thing he possibly could. But yeah, you have anything else for this episode?
No, I think this is a really cool episode. It's a very simple episode compared to a lot of the stripped down cast, simple conflict and challenge. Simple but impactful. And yeah, I think
there's a type of TV episode called a bottle episode, which often happens in a single location in live action television, often when the show is running low on budget, that takes place in a single location with only a few actors and is usually more akin to a play. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is a bottle episode of Rebels, but it kind of
It's
feels like it.
bottle-esque. It's bottle-esque.
It kind of feels like it, but it moves at such a clip. It's very well paced. It's very well written. It's incredibly directed, and it's very good. You got those classic thriller vibes. I love Steven Sanders AP5, but Steve Blum obviously does admirable work as Zeb. Yeah, I love the infiltrator droid's design. I don't like this episode as much as Ghosts of Geonosis, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, Jay, have you got anything else?
Oh, these were a trio of pretty darn great episodes, in my opinion. Ghosts of Geonosis, obviously, those are two very rich, multi-layered episodes, and then I think Warhead is short and sweet, metaphorically. It's the same length, but it's just simple and it's well executed and it's a lot of fun. And in
Absolutely.
the end, moves the overall arc of the season forward in a big way, with Thrawn saying, "Wait, I'm starting to figure you guys out. It's only a matter of time."
I think if that's it, then that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Next week, take one. Next week, Jacob, myself, and special guest, many times guest on this show, Meg Dal-Mondon is returning. And what else is she returning to discuss than the fucking Darksaber, Trials of the Darksaber, Legacy of Mandalore, through Imperial eyes. Me, Jacob, Meg Dal-Mondon, next week. Star Wars in the Galaxy. We can't wait to do this with Meg. That's going to be great. In the meantime, you can follow us everywhere at inagalaxypod.bsky.social. This is on Blue Sky at inagalaxypod. This is on Instagram. You can listen to us everywhere you listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll be there. Epic Confrontations just recorded. Nikki versus Brennan. This, at the time of recording, we recorded this yesterday. So that'll be out probably sometime around when this episode comes out, maybe a little later. We'll keep you updated on that. You can follow me everywhere. My link tree is linktr.ee/_OGFan327. Yeah, and I think until next time, may the force be with you.
Always.
Always.